Right, here we go. I promised this video a couple of days ago. Here it is. This is the video about the diet you need to be following to reverse your gout. Now, if you haven't seen the video I'm talking about, the previous video, which was how I reversed my gout, please press pause and go and watch that one first, because in that one I explain quite a bit of detail about what gout actually is and what causes it and what does not cause it, so what some of the misinformation is or some of the misunderstanding. And I don't want to repeat all that here because it will make this video too long. I am going to touch on it briefly here just to recap, to remind you, but if you go through this video and it sounds wrong, then you need to go and watch the original video to understand exactly why purines do not cause gout. Okay, go and look at that video and understand what gout actually is and what causes it. And in that context, I'm going to produce this video where I'm going to talk about the 4 factors that we need to address if we're going to reverse our gout. Inflammation, weight loss, uric acid production, and kidney function. And if we can get those 4 things under control, then we are well on our way to reversing gout. Now, reversing gout is not exactly the same as completely curing it, although in most cases you will completely cure it. Mine's gone completely, you can't even see where it was. But if your gout is too far gone and there's lots of damage and now there's been excess bone growth around the joint to compensate for the pain of the gout, you might not resorb all that extra bone and you might have a knobbly joint, but you won't be in pain anymore. The inflammation will be gone. You will essentially reverse the gout. Okay, so welcome to Shape Fixer. I am Andrew. I'm a nutritionist. I had gout. I no longer have gout. I did a video on how I used to have gout and no longer had gout, and how I didn't understand at the time why my gout went, but I do now. So that video explains what happened. This video is for you so that I can tell you in more detail what you need to do specifically related to your diet, but not only. So there are a couple of other pointers at the end of the video. So let's get straight at it. The first of the 4 things I mentioned was inflammation. Most inflammation throughout your body is caused by excess insulin. Insulin is a hormone that is produced in your pancreas. It's a growth hormone. It is also the hormone that is very essential for metabolizing sugar, for getting sugar into your body cells. So when you eat too much sugar or carbohydrates, and that is the same thing, I promise you it's the same thing, look at the video below that explains what a carbohydrate is. And don't listen to people telling you complex carbohydrates are fine. They're not. They're the same thing. Too much sugar from carbohydrates pushes your insulin up, and insulin is massively inflammatory. So the first thing you need to do to get your inflammation to start coming down is to stop eating carbohydrates. And I will get, when I get at the end of the video into the actual food, I'll give you a list of foods you can eat and what you should not eat. But we are going to go onto a low carbohydrate way of eating. Now, you can give it a label. You can call it a diet if you want. I don't. I just don't eat carbohydrates. But you can call it a ketogenic diet. You can call it ketovore. You can maybe go more animal and call yourself a carnivore. You can call yourself paleo. You can say you're on an Atkins diet. I don't care what label you use. We are going to be on a low carbohydrate diet. Okay, that is going to bring most of our inflammation down so that we can start the healing process and towards resolving your gout. So we are going to cut carbohydrates. We're also going to cut legumes for now. It doesn't mean you can't eat beans and peas again at some point in your life, but let's get rid of the gout first. Legumes are inflammatory, so don't eat beans and peas and lentils for now. Okay, well, let's get rid of this gout. Dairy can be inflammatory. Now, people respond differently to dairy. Certainly, if you are intolerant to dairy, then don't touch it. But if you know you're intolerant, you probably already don't touch it. Just stay off it. If you're okay with dairy, make sure it's full fat dairy, because it has way less sugar than fat-free dairy like skim milk or even semi-skim milk. The sugar content is way higher. Full fat milk, if you really must put, say, a bit of milk in your coffee, better off putting butter in your coffee or cream. You can eat butter, you can cook with butter, you can eat cheese. Just don't eat it if it's highly processed cheese. Try and eat raw, original cheese. The other things that will affect inflammation are things like smoking. So just don't smoke already. It's about the dumbest thing you can do. Stress, which of course is not always easy to manage because a lot of your stress comes from outside, but how your body responds to the stress is actually where the inflammation comes from. It's the production of cortisol. So if you're healthier and your carbs are down and your insulin is down and your inflammation is a bit lower, you will find yourself better able to cope with those external factors that stress you out, and you will produce less cortisol. And cortisol is also inflammatory. So you can manage stress from this side, even if you can't manage it from the outside. Okay, and sleep. More sleep, less stress. More exercise, less stress. And exercise doesn't mean boot camp. It doesn't mean going to run a marathon. It just means going for a walk or doing some gardening or even some yoga in the house. But put some time aside to get a little bit of more physical movement in your life. But the main thing for the inflammation, as I say, is to cut the carbs. Right, now we've got our inflammation down. The second thing we need to do is we need to lose weight. You're walking around with all that weight on that toe, and that is just making the inflammation worse. How do you lose weight? Surprise, surprise, cut carbs. You cannot burn body fat if you eat carbohydrates. You just can't. Because every time you eat carbohydrates, your insulin goes up, as we discussed a few minutes ago. And when your insulin is up, that is a fat storage hormone. In addition to being a growth hormone and a sugar metabolizing hormone, it is a fat storage hormone. It stops you being able to burn body fat. You will not lose weight if you eat bread and potatoes and pasta and rice and breakfast cereals like oats, and you eat corn, and forget it. You can forget it. You might lose a couple of pounds if you go and get some exercise. Mostly that'll just be water anyway. You are not going to lose weight if you eat carbs. So again, low carbohydrate diet. That is the beginning and end of it when you need to lose body weight. Right. Uric acid production. Okay, now we're getting to the core issue around gout. And you'll remember from the first video that gout is a collection of uric acid crystals, or formation of uric acid crystals in the joint. And if there's inflammation, it happens more readily. So that's why we're getting rid of inflammation. But we don't want excess uric acid in the body, because if you are producing less uric acid, then you're less likely to have it making crystals in your joint. That is logical. And uric acid is something that is produced in your liver. So what is it that you eat that gives your liver the particular job that results in it producing uric acid as a waste product? A lot of people will tell you it's purines, and therefore you shouldn't eat meat and you shouldn't eat shellfish. That is incorrect. It is absolutely incorrect. We again covered this in the first video. Yes, you can have a gout flare-up from eating shellfish and meat, but it is not from the purines. It's something else. It's something else, and we'll get to that. It is not the purines, because the purines that you eat, in the food that you eat, get destroyed in your stomach and in your intestine. Your digestive juices, your stomach acid, destroys them completely. They don't go anywhere near your liver. So your liver, in as much as it ever produces any uric acid from the breakdown of any purine, is only from the purine that comes from your own cells when you are breaking down old cells and building new cells. That's all. And it is a tiny amount. It's not relevant, and you can't stop it anyway. What are you going to stop repairing or stop growing? That's not going to happen. So dietary purines are not the issue. Uric acid production, there are two reasons why your liver will produce uric acid, or there are two chemical pathways. One is when it has to process fructose. Fructose is a type of sugar, sometimes called fruit sugar. That's because you generally get a lot of fructose in fruit. But there's a lot of fructose in table sugar, or sucrose. Sucrose is name for table sugar, and it's made up of half fructose and half glucose. So there's a lot of fructose in the sugar that you find in a sugar bowl. That's why it's sweet. Fructose is sweet. Glucose is not sweet. The fructose from the sugar, or the fructose from the fruit, or the fructose that is injected into a lot of the processed foods that we buy, is toxic. Your body can't do anything with it. It has to go to the liver first. The liver converts that fructose into glucose and then puts it back into the blood. That is normal blood sugar. Now, that's not good for you. It spikes insulin. But the process of breaking down the fructose, guess what one of the byproducts is? Uric acid. So you have an increased uric acid production when you eat more fructose. So if you're eating a lot of fruit or a lot of sugar, and a lot of sweetened food and a lot of processed food, you are going to be getting too much fructose, and you are going to be producing a lot of uric acid. Now, interestingly, that chemical process, that cycle that the fructose goes through that results in the uric acid coming off, is the same cycle that alcohol goes through. When your liver processes alcohol, because alcohol is poisonous too. So if you didn't have a liver, do you know if you had one drink, you'd die? That's how toxic alcohol is. So fructose and alcohol cause your body to produce excess uric acid by going through a particular cycle. Now, there is another cycle that your body can go through, and that is what it does if you don't have enough sugar, because especially if you're on a low sugar diet or a ketogenic diet, which I have just recommended you do. If you do that, if you go on a ketogenic diet, you still need energy. You're just not going to be getting it from sugar anymore, so you have to get it from fat. So a ketogenic diet is not a high protein diet, it's a high fat diet. Fats and oils are very good for you. A lot of them are absolutely essential. You'd be very ill if you didn't get enough of them. Omega-3 oils, probably the most important one. This is why a lot of people take an omega-3 supplement. I've done a video on fats and oils. I will put that down below here as well. So go through the video notes and look at all these videos. Fats and oils are very important. But we have been frightened out of our wits for decades about fat. Fat makes you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Sugar makes you fat. Fat makes you thin. But we've always believed that body fat, diabetes, obesity, that's linked to dietary fat, which is incorrect. But we think it is. And so we have this almost subconscious revulsion to eating too much fat. So when we go on a low carbohydrate diet and we cut out all the carbohydrates, if we don't make the conscious effort to increase our fat by eating lots of fatty food and oily food, our bodies go, well, now what? You've taken away my sugar energy source, but I have not enough fat, especially if you're already a healthy weight. So in desperation, your body will burn protein, some of your muscle. And in the burning of protein, ammonia is produced, and ammonia is poisonous and needs to be sorted out by the liver. And once again, the liver produces uric acid. So uric acid production can go up on a high protein diet or a low carbohydrate diet if you are not eating enough fat. So make sure that you're getting enough fat. And the worst thing you can do is to take protein in powder form, like bodybuilding supplements. Those proteins, that is pure protein, pure amino acid. There is no fat in there whatsoever. You are going to end up with way too many amino acids. Your body has to destroy them, and you will have more uric acid. So there you go. Fructose and alcohol, too much protein in the absence of fat. So effectively, really, too little fat. Those are the two sources of uric acid production. So we need to eat in a way that we sort those two sources out so that you lower your uric acid production. And the last thing was kidney function. Now that's important because when you do produce uric acid, it doesn't automatically go to gout. The uric acid in your blood goes to your kidneys. The kidneys take it out, put it into the urea into your urine and you pee it out. That's how you get rid of uric acid. If you're producing way too much uric acid and it's floating around in your blood, it's going to end up in your joints. But if your kidney is not doing its job properly, it will not filter out as much uric acid as it should, and you will end up with too much uric acid in your blood, and you will end up with gout. So you need to be sure that what you're doing is good for your kidneys. That means making sure you drink enough fluid, so water, but make sure you drink your water with electrolytes, because a common mistake is drinking too much straight water and diluting your body salts, and then your electrolyte balance is out, and then a lot of things don't work properly and you'll have other problems, including impaired kidney function. So make sure you have electrolytes with your water, or that you eat food that is rich in potassium and magnesium, and that you get enough salt in your diet. And salt, by the way, is good for you. Okay, you won't eat too much salt, because when your body has too much salt, you no longer like the taste of it, and you go, oh, that is just too salty. That's your body telling you to stop with the salt. So there we go. Get the inflammation down, get the weight down, stop producing uric acid, and make sure our kidney function is good. Now, kidney function can be an issue. If you are obese, or very overweight, or pre-diabetic, or even type 2 diabetic, there is a chance that you may also have chronic kidney disease. And chronic kidney disease makes this more complicated because your kidney is already not functioning very well. Of course, then it's even more important to be on a low sugar diet, not eating fructose, not drinking alcohol, and keeping your weight under control, and having enough water, and not producing uric acid. Give your kidneys a break, because your kidneys are already impaired. But the good news is that if you go on a ketogenic diet or a low carbohydrate diet and you lower your insulin, there is a lot of scientific evidence that a low ketogenic diet is very, very good for your kidneys, and will even reverse, to an extent, kidney disease. So you could go from, say, stage 3 kidney disease back to stage 2. It will certainly stop it from getting any worse, and kidney disease is usually progressive. It usually just keeps getting worse, but that's because you're eating wrong. So if you eat right and you keep your insulin under control, it will stop progressing. It won't get any worse, and in a lot of cases it will even start to get better. Okay? And I'm putting some studies. Okay, there are some links down below here to some scientific papers. In fact, I'm going to put 2 down there. One talks about how a ketogenic diet is actually really good for partly reversing chronic kidney disease. And the other one is scientific proof that fats and proteins do not damage your kidneys, and they do not make your CKD worse. So if you've been told to avoid protein when you have kidney disease, that is nonsense. And I think that probably comes from what I was talking about earlier about people on a lot of protein avoiding fat. Of course, then you're going to produce uric acid and your kidney can't cope. Just eat fat with your protein and you'll be fine. Okay, so that's it. What else have we got here? Don't eat a lot of processed food. Okay, so the actual food now. And I'm going to put it all down here in lists under headings for types of food, so you can really go and see examples of what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. But very, very briefly, the protein source should be fatty. So red meat in the form of mince or burger patties or meatballs is ideal, because it's usually higher in fat, or you just eat meat that has fat on it. Now that can be beef, it can be pork, it can be lamb, any red meat you like. Chicken is slightly less fatty, but it's perfectly good for you. If you eat the skin, that's fantastic. Fish, brilliant. Oily fish, the best. Eggs have got oil and fat in them. Eggs are super, super healthy source of protein for you as well. So don't be afraid of animal products and animal foods and meats. If you are a vegan, this is going to be very difficult, because you are probably trying to get your amino acids or your proteins from plants, which is not easy, and you are probably going to focus on things like beans and legumes, but they are inflammatory. So I would suggest you relook at your reasons if you are vegan for health reasons, you probably need to read up a little more on what is and isn't healthy for you. If you are vegan for ethical reasons, that's a different situation, and you have to really consider the different impacts, and you've got to weigh these principles up against each other. It's not my job to make ethical choices for you. It's my job to give you the information about what to eat to be as healthy as possible. Fats. Talking about fats and oils. Fats are good for you, oils are good for you. Saturated fat is perfectly fine. It does not increase heart attack. It does not give you heart disease. Insulin and sugar give you heart disease. Heart disease has got nothing to do with dietary fat, and it's got nothing to do at all with dietary cholesterol. The American Heart Association no longer lists dietary cholesterol as an issue of concern for heart disease because it's got nothing to do with it. Your body makes cholesterol, so if you eat some, your body will make less, and if you stop eating it, your body will make more. You will always get back to the level that your body thinks you need. Okay, oils and fats are good, particularly omega-3 oils, which comes from fish, mostly fish oil, which they get from eating the algae that they eat. You can take an omega-3 supplement. Do not eat trans fats. Okay, those are the problem fats. That means oils, because fat and oil is just liquid fat. Seed oils, sunflower oil, canola oil, safflower oil. Vegetable oils and seed oils are artificially produced in a factory and modified to make them last longer for commercial reasons, and your body cannot break them down properly, and they are toxic and inflammatory as a result. So use olive oil, cook with butter, cook with lard. MCT oils are good if you want to put a supplement in your coffee. Butter in coffee is very good, but just eat oily, fatty food and you will be absolutely fine if you are not eating sugar. Okay, coconut oil, avocado oil, these are all great oils. Fruit, I'm afraid, is no, mostly, because of the fructose. You don't want the fructose because it's just going to produce uric acid. And of course there are vitamins in fruit and there are certain minerals in certain fruits. Of course, yes. That doesn't make them healthy. Okay, and I've used this analogy before. That's like dropping a vitamin C tablet into a glass of Coca-Cola and then saying it's a health drink. It's not. Fruit is not good for you. There you go, I've said it. Fruit is not natural. What do you think of that? Because the fruit we get now is crossbred, genetically manipulated, much bigger, much juicier, much sweeter, far higher sugar content than the wild natural fruit. And it's available all year round in a multitude of different kinds from all over the world. There's nothing at all natural about the supply that's available to us. Just cut out the fruit, and if you love your fruit, I understand that. That's because it's full of sugar and it's addictive, so cut it out, especially if you have gout. You cure your gout, you want to eat a small amount of fruit, go ahead. Not now if you're trying to cure your gout, okay? No fruit. Now, I'll tell you what fruit you can eat. Avocados, because there's hardly any sugar in them. Olives, because there's hardly no sugar in them either. You don't think of them as fruit because they're not sweet, but of course they are. So you can eat avocados. In fact, I would encourage you to eat avocados and olives. What about vegetables? Well, we want to avoid the sugars, so we want to stay away from the sugary vegetables, and the ones that are from the part of the plant that is designed to store sugar for the plant in the form of starch, like potatoes and carrots, and generally any vegetable that comes from underground and is a big swollen storage organ. Stay away from it. Stay away from squashes. Look what a squash is. It grows above ground. It comes from originally a flower, turns into a fruit. It's a fruit. It's got pips in it. It's got high glucose, high sugar. It's a fruit. Okay? Vegetables with pips and seeds inside them are actually fruits. Don't eat those. Don't eat the leafy, green, above ground vegetables and you'll be fine. Eat the broccolis, eat the cabbage, eat the kale, the lettuce, the salads, the Brussels sprouts, the artichokes. Eat those and you'll be absolutely fine. Stay away from legumes because they're inflammatory, and so are nightshades. Now, potatoes, tomatoes, those are nightshades, but tomatoes are fruit and potatoes starch, so we already know that. Brinjals or eggplant and peppers, they can be inflammatory as well. Have them in small amounts when you've cured your gout, but just don't do it for now. Grains, big no-no. Big no. Grains are carbohydrates. Do not eat oats, rice, corn, barley, or any products from these things. So wheat, that means you don't eat bread, you don't eat pasta. It's all carbohydrates, and the grains in particular are highly inflammatory. Don't eat them. You can eat seeds, like from flowering plants, so chia seeds, pumpkin seeds are actually really healthy. And anything that just comes across as a carbohydrate or a starch, so potatoes, rice, pasta, we've covered those things. Just stay away from them. Again, there's going to be a list down here, so you can go and copy and paste it somewhere and keep it as a reference if you like. Here's a tip. Cauliflower is a great substitute for most carbohydrates. You can boil it, smash it up into a pulp, mix it with some cheese. It makes a great mashed potato. It also, if you then roll it into a flat disc and you bake it under quite a high heat for 10 minutes in the oven, it makes a fantastic pizza base, and then you don't have to use flour or wheat. So there you go. Get onto a ketogenic diet. It's good for your kidneys. Again, this is a study down here to prove that. And go and look at my first video, please, to understand gout, how it forms, and how uric acid is formed, so that you understand why I'm telling you what to eat and what not to eat. And just one last thing, again, don't smoke, don't drink alcohol, try to get more sleep. And there are disciplines around sleep, like lowering the lights earlier, not looking at a screen before you go to bed, putting time aside and making sure that you go to bed at a sensible time, and get yourself some exercise, because exercise does a few things. Firstly, it is good for your state of mind and makes you easier to be motivated and stay committed. Secondly, it gets your blood flowing and stimulates your metabolism, which is absolutely excellent. And thirdly, if you do have any sugars floating around in your blood, it's going to burn them. Okay, so a little bit of exercise is very good from that point of view. Good luck on your journey. Gout is reversible. Most definitely it is reversible, and it is a dietary disease, and so we're going to reverse it with diet. You can't reverse a dietary disease with a medication. Medication, you can control the symptoms and feel better, but you are going to have it forever. So if you're on allopurinol or something like that for your gout, I'm not telling you to stop taking it, because if it's giving you some peace and you can actually sleep and you can actually walk, please keep taking it for now, but do these other things. Fix your diet, your gout will go away, and you will not need the medication with its cost and its side effect anymore. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And please put your comments down below. Ask me any questions. I will try my best to answer as many of the questions as I possibly can.